What is up, guys? Welcome back to the Bull Combo. I hope you guys are doing great. I hope you're having a fantastic day. It's been another week in the Metaverse. That means it's time for another weekly Metaverse update. But before we get to that, a couple things we need to get through, including a few important things. First off, if you guys like Metaverse, virtual land, or blockchain style videos, blockchain gaming videos, content like that, definitely consider subscribing to the channel. If you guys liked this video, make sure to hit that thumbs up button as well. For those of you that were on the stream yesterday, I did a bunch of giveaways as a celebration for 5,000 subscribers. Thank you guys again for that. Thank you very much. But as part of that, I gave away some land and some merch, and I included some forms in the live stream that people could fill out, and then after the stream was done, I was going to go through and select some random winners. So I wanted to go ahead and announce the winners now. So here are the winners for the merch giveaway. Big congratulations to these two right here. And here are the winners for the land giveaway. Feel free to reach out to me on Twitter or Discord and we'll handle the land transfer. If you were one of the merch winners, feel free to reach out to me on either of those two platforms and we'll handle getting your information so that I can send you out the merch package. So congratulations again, guys. It's the least I could do to give back to you. So thanks again for all of that support. And here's to the next 5,000 subscribers, I guess. So let's jump right into the weekly Metaverse update here, guys. And we're going to kick things right off with Earth2 here. So as I covered in my video yesterday, there's been a few things that have been released now over the past week. The Hollow Buildings editor was added to the site officially this morning, which gives users the ability to create Hollow Buildings blueprints that will eventually be able to be placed on land. They also released a help guide to go along with Hollow Buildings since they're a fairly complex tool. I thought the help guide looked really good, and overall I think it does provide a lot of information that explains the functionality of the existing Hollow Building editor and how Hollow Buildings will come into play in the future. As I said in my video yesterday, there was some things I was concerned about when it comes to pricing and stuff like that, although we can't place these yet, so we don't really know how the pricing is going to shake out. And from what I've been told, it doesn't sound like all of these will actually cost money to be placed, which is a really good thing to hear. That said, it was really neat to see something added that was a little bit more tangible than some of the content and some of the features we've seen added thus far. So curious to see how people use this, curious to see some of the art that people make as a result of this tool. And it definitely looks like the community is excited for this specific tool as a whole. So a few days back, they also released the Bazaar, which allowed people to basically buy and sell the jewels that they had previously been earning from their properties. You have to be verified to do this, which kind of goes into the second part of the announcement, which was that they actually have a third-party company now handling verification of users within the platform. So I actually went through the verification process this morning to test it out. I was verified in like 2 minutes. So I know people have had issues. There's been some issues with people's IDs not being recognized and stuff like that. But it looks like as a whole, most people should be able to get verified fairly easily. And then from there, you can do whatever you decide you want to do. I didn't really like the idea of having to be verified in order to sell the jewels or to have the Hollow Building editor or anything like that. I feel like that really should only be needed if you're cashing out and trying to withdraw the money. Nevertheless, it's there. It's now being handled by a third-party company, which means Earth2 is not handling people's private information, and that's the way it should be. So aside from that, there was some general updates to the website. They updated the careers page. They added some information on an updates page, which was not previously listed, that actually covers all the updates as they happen. So not only did they cover the recent updates, but it looks like they've gone pretty far back and covered some of the previous updates that occurred on the site as well. Just a little bit more transparency, something that we've been asking for a little bit. It's encouraging to see them adding this to the site, and it's encouraging to see that it's actually been updated with some things, both past and present. The Sandbox saw week 5 of the Summer Jam land sale come to an end. This was actually the end of the entire Summer Jam land sale wave itself. And I think as a whole it was pretty successful. This sale specifically saw 1,061 lands being sold, which is pretty on par with the previous sales. As was the case before, I actually watched the live sale this time. I didn't take part in it, but I watched it, and it looked like all of the lands were probably booked in about a minute and a half, maybe 2 minutes. So while there are a few premium lands that hung around because they're pretty expensive right now, we're talking $2,000 plus a single land. There was a few that hung around after. All of the standard lands were basically immediately booked, which is to no surprise. So on top of that, the Sandbox announced the South China Morning Post as a brand new partner within the Metaverse. They have a pretty large plot in the upper right-hand corner of the Metaverse map, and rumors are swirling that sound like they may be working on some sort of historic replica or rebuild of Hong Kong. We're really going to have to wait and see since nothing has officially been confirmed, I don't believe, on that, but from what I've heard, that may be what they're going to be doing with their land, and if that's the case, that would be absolutely incredible to see and to walk through and experience. So Really cool stuff coming out of there. Curious to see what they do when it comes to that. They also announced the winners of Game Jam number 4 this week. And the first place winner actually received 150,000 sand for their Game Jam design, which at the time was around $75,000, which is a pretty incredible first place prize just for building a game within the Game Maker application. So very cool stuff coming out of there. Again, I'm a big fan of the way the Sandbox has been holding competitions for creators and for members of the community to really get engaged and become part of the creation of the platform and of the metaverse as a whole. And I think that this kind of thing is definitely going to carry over to other metaverses as build tools become available there. And it's really just cool to see the community kind of embracing this and to see the company turning back around and embracing the community and providing these types of rewards, which really kind of incentivize people to continue partaking in these kinds of things. So all around very cool stuff coming out of the Sandbox here. Axie Infinity experiences a server outage. Over the last week, Axie Infinity has been plagued with a number of server issues. Part of this can probably be blamed on the uptick in users over the last few weeks, as Axie's experienced a lot of positive and large-scale press recently. That said, they did experience a server outage that took some time to get addressed, which they did tweet about. In the tweet, they went on to say that the company was working to address the issue and that traditionally server outages have only affected Coinbase and Binance and crypto. So in that sense, they've joined elite company. You have to appreciate the sense of humor here by the Axie Infinity team. I'm sure users weren't too excited about the fact that the servers were down and they weren't able to play, especially since I know people play this game very religiously to the point that some people actually make a really large amount of money just playing this game. So I can imagine some people weren't too pleased with the idea of the server having issues. That said, it sounds like it's been addressed. This is actually the first time I've covered Axie, I believe, in the Metaverse Weekly Update. And they're actually probably one of the largest Metaverse platforms out there currently. It just seems like they don't have a ton of news coming out recently, which may be a good thing, may be a bad thing. Nevertheless, I imagine we're going to be covering them in the future when it comes to these Metaverse updates. SpaceY 2025. So the SpaceY 2025 Metaverse version 1 is now live, according to a recent announcement. SpaceY 2025 is a tower defense style blockchain game that takes place on Mars and is attempting to incorporate Metaverse style elements into the gameplay experience. Current information states that the full release of the product will be sometime in November, so we're just going to have to wait and see exactly what that entails. Nevertheless, because this was a new Metaverse platform that was being announced, I felt like it was important to include it here, just so that it was on everyone's radar, and as more information comes out, people will be familiar with what exactly we're talking about here. Facebook. The Vergecast, a Verge.com podcast, recently sat down with Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg to talk about Facebook's transition into the Metaverse. I won't read the entire article for you guys because I really think it's a great read and it deserves to be read on its own, but I will include a few of the highlights or a few of the more important points that I found within the article itself. So Zuckerberg went on to say that Facebook is going to be transitioning from a social media company to a metaverse company. He went on to state that while Facebook came to be during the boom of the smartphone, the company really didn't have a hand in how the smartphone was developed. And as a result, they don't really feel that the smartphone is the most intuitive way for people to interact and engage with other people. Zuckerberg states that he envisions a metaverse that can be accessed from AR, VR, PC, mobile device, and consoles, with varying levels of self-presence and 3D immersion. This is something that the Facebook team is currently working toward as we speak. He went on to state that he believes the technology to create a metaverse on par with Ready Player One will be available by the end of the decade. Some really big stuff here from Mark Zuckerberg, guys. Obviously, Facebook is probably the biggest social media platform out there right now. I'm sure some would argue that Twitter is up there too, and maybe Twitter is technically larger, but I feel like Facebook is probably the most well-known and most influential right now. So the idea of them getting into the metaverse space, one, isn't a surprise. It makes a lot of sense logically since they already work on connecting people together. Based off of everything I've seen with their current iteration of the metaverse, Facebook Horizon, it looks like this is going to be very much like Facebook, but in a 3D sense. So rather than people having a Facebook page that people could come to visit, they would have a 3D land within Horizon that people can decorate as they see fit. They can include videos, images, things that they find cool, mini games, etc. Kind of like a blur between social media and a metaverse. So I don't know if there's necessarily any competition to some of the other metaverse platforms out there that are trying a few more unique concepts and things that incorporate more than just a social media style metaverse. But nevertheless, seeing Facebook talking about how this transition is so important to them really is pretty eye-opening, and it just shows you that this is being considered by all companies at all levels. And if you had to bet on a company being successful when it comes to entering a space, I wouldn't bet against Facebook here. So I'm going to keep an eye on some of the moves that Facebook makes as they make their way on their metaverse journey. We'll see how they progress, and maybe we'll get a clearer picture of exactly what that metaverse is going to look like here in the next few years. All right, guys, so the last thing I wanted to touch on here was Epic Games, and specifically their recent purchase of Sketchfab. So for those that aren't aware, Sketchfab is a 3D content site. It's known by many as the world's largest 3D content site. It's used for 3D generation platforms, AR and VR development tools. There's a wide range of uses for the assets that are housed on Sketchfab, but Epic Games purchasing this product really kind of shows that they're really trying to position themselves as metaverse leaders and really kind of future-proof themselves by bringing this asset catalog on board and underneath the Epic Games name. Number one, it ensures a certain level of ownership here that in turn makes it so that these competitors have to reach a little bit farther if they want to gain access to these tools and to these features. But two, I think it really shows how the metaverse is something that Epic Games is taking very seriously. And it also kind of gives us a hint at what we might see becoming from this. And I'll read the quote here that Epic included in the press release because I think it's very telling of where their head's at and how they feel the metaverse could shake out for them. So when they were asked about their reasoning behind the decision, they stated that it was to build an open and interconnected metaverse. And they went on to say that, quote unquote, by joining forces, Epic and Sketchfab will be able to make 3D, AR, and VR content more accessible and grow the creator ecosystem, which are critical to an open and interconnected metaverse. It sounds like they're trying to create a scenario in which they have a large plethora of assets available for when this metaverse comes online and as people are working to build this metaverse so that their creators that they have the tools available to work on this. So if they're working on purchasing this early on in the life cycle of their metaverse, I have to imagine that they're probably pretty far along in other areas. They could already have a lot of development much further than we already thought or anticipated. I think we're just going to have to keep an eye on Epic Games and how they choose to pursue their version of the metaverse. I think that they could be one of the front runners in the end, especially from a gaming perspective. I know Facebook's going to have it down from like a social media perspective, but from a gaming perspective, Epic Games has proven that they know what they're doing. Whether it comes to Fortnite or their engine, Unreal Engine, I think that they are heavyweights in the gaming space, and them showing this level of commitment to metaverses this early on just shows that they're probably going to continue to be heavyweights in the gaming space for years or maybe even decades to come. All right, guys, so that was all I had for this week's weekly update. Quite a few things to get through, as always. Some really awesome stuff. Like I say every week, there's always something going on in the metaverse, and I really just enjoy researching this and bringing you guys the most up-to-date information and kind of just bringing you guys everything that's happening right now. I know there can be a lot of stuff flying around back and forth, and it can be kind of hard to nail down some of the things that you care about. Maybe you do care about this stuff, maybe you don't, but either way, guys, I really appreciate the support here on the video. Again, if you liked this video, make sure to smash that thumbs up button. Other than that, I want to thank all of you guys for hanging out. I hope you have a fantastic Friday, an excellent weekend, and until next time, we'll see you soon.